Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bright Founders Talk at Temy. Temy is an international software company that develops and designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. And each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry, and today we're lucky enough to have an amazing guest joining us, Ravi Bijlani, who is founder and CEO at KYXStart. Hello, Ravi. Welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here, Barry. Thanks for having me here.
The pleasure is all ours. Now, we know you're very busy, so thank you so much for taking time out of your day. We do appreciate it. And for those who don't know who you are or know what KYXStart is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the company that you work at?
First of all, thank you for having me here, Barry, again. The journey for me has been very interesting. I've spent last 20 to 25 years, building platforms around payments and identity. And, I spend my time around some of the largest identity and payment systems in the world. And I kept seeing same thing. Internet was moving faster. Payments were moving faster, but trust stayed slow. We are using some of the old school technologies, which is static checks, to make some real time decisions. And we know that there is a big gap around there because of there is a trust gap. And that's why Kickstart exists. And that's why we built Kickstart to close that gap and help real time payments around the world and build trust in every transaction that you do. And with the advent of AI, it has not really helped. We thought AI was going to help make our lives better, but unfortunately, as we know, fraudsters adopt technology much faster than the good guys. So, here we are in the midst of this AI boom, and the whole world is looking at, okay, who's going to be the savior? And I believe Kickstarter is going to be that savior.
What was it that made you particularly interested in know your customer verification and payment or authentication? What was it in particular that you would thought was really interesting?
What we saw was three things changed at the same time. Internet was moving faster, payments became very instant, and fraud became professional. Right? Fraud is now like, hey, professional fraudsters. You hear a lot of those words. In fact, to certain times, organizations hire fraudsters to validate their platform and to test it out. What we saw was the old identity stack could not keep up. Know your customer, old school way was, hey, I'm going to either call you or you can show me your driver license. With the advent of AI and deepfakes, that's all, in my opinion, that's weaker at this point, right? So what we thought was we need a new age platform and a new way to verify identities. And I actually call them principles, which is consumers as well as businesses. And what we again, just to reiterate myself, every solutions that was out there, they were all point solutions and they were all scattered. We brought it all together and we have put our solution with one API to access, verify users and consumers globally. So you can verify up to 5 billion users and up to 350 million businesses just by implementing one API.
So for listeners who may be unfamiliar with KYXStart, who is the platform built for? Who is this market for?
If you think about it, ideal customers, my ICP would be financial institutions who, Barry, if you go apply for a credit card or open a bank account, they want to verify, is this really you? And the other, institutions that we are kind of helping are the e-commerce giants and as well as marketplaces who are taking the next step. Okay, is this really Barry? I got it. I can figure that out or I can verify it. But at the moment of payment, is this Barry's payment instrument? Like, is this your debit card, credit card, or a bank account? Should I let this payment go through? I think that's the next version of fraud verification or identity verification per se that we have brought in. And we are actually calling it KYP, know your payer and know your payee.
That's a nice way of saying that. That's what I haven't seen before. So I do like that acronym. How do you ensure that KYXStart remains scalable and reliable as you continue to grow customers and the regulation evolves?
So regulations, are the most important thing, right? So we have a constant eye on, are the regulations changing? Because since we are global in nature, data residency laws, data transfer laws, they're all applicable in the business that we are in. So we are keeping a very close tab on it. And the way we are getting ahead of it is actually using AI for the right purpose. So we have our own internal AI agents that look and that go and monitor in terms of letting us know if there is anything changes that we need to make. That's one aspect of it. The other big aspect of how we have built our platform, I have a couple of other co-founders and us. We all come from, past history of building highly scalable platforms that are, even as we speak, are doing billions of transactions. So we come from a very heavy background of building highly scalable platforms, not only on cloud but also on prem, and in many other ways. The most important thing that I would say is that data is the new fuel of economy. I think we've heard that quite a bit. And I like to say digital identity, or the identity data, is the liquid fuel, right? Is the rocket fuel, I should say that, because that can actually help your company go up or go down, right? It's so you wanna you wanna build a platform that helps companies get better people in, like you, me, and others, good identities come in, or our organizations in. And you also want to verify what payments are we doing at different point of time, and also help them with various other types of frauds and fraud rings that are getting formed today to hurt your business.
When stakeholders come to you, like, what is one of the biggest misconceptions that they have about companies, in like terms of, like, to use your terminology, like KYP processes?
One of the biggest things that we have seen, that they come to us and they are like, hey, I want to verify as many users as many as possible because I want to grow my business. And that's one thing that we have in terms of coverage and efficacy that we bring. But as they start working with us, they realize, oh, I can also verify the payment instrument. I think that's an added feature, and it's very easy to integrate because of the way we build our platform around one API. But the biggest benefit that they are seeing is they are adding more trust in their transactions. And that's what will bring you repetitive business and will bring you the good customers in, right? And they, like, I'll ask you a question back. How many times you've got an SMS saying that, oh, your Google password has changed, your Coinbase password has changed, right? Even though it has nothing to do with Google, nothing to do with Coinbase, you, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, am I being targeted, right? So now imagine, you go to a grocery shop, like, I know you're from London, so I'll ask you, go to Waitrose, right? And they're like, oh, by the way, new account was created at Waitrose. Now you're thinking, man, I don't like, even though you don't care for it, but you're like, in the back of your mind, like, do I like Waitrose? What are they doing? Why are they hurting me? All I want to do is buy some groceries out there. The other day I got a notification saying that somebody had created a Walmart Plus account under my name. And I called Walmart and I'm like, hey, this phone number is not mine, but you let it go through. They used my address, but they used, of course, they were not able to get to my information, but they used my name, my physical address, but they got goods delivered somewhere else. It was like a Toyota oil or some coolant, I guess, for the car. And I called and they had no idea. Now in my mind is that I'm never going to download Walmart Plus. I'm done,
Uh,
right?
mhm.
So that's what, as the customers start working with us, they are like, oh, we can enable trust and we can build a better relationship with our customers than anything else.
You mentioned AI a while ago at the start of the podcast. Like, are there, and you can say AI if you want, but what are there any trends that you're seeing in the business at the moment in terms of, like, verification or like compliance or onboarding that really excite you at the moment?
Yes, and thanks for asking that question. And I'll tell you, this is how I say it. AI doesn't need more data. It needs better signals. You actually don't want, AI to be more smarter. It can get as smarter, right? We already know that. You want AI to be more trustworthy. You want to add more trust into this. So what we are more excited about, Barry, is about the whole agentic commerce world that's like looming across, right? We all have a dream where we wake up and we say, or to your phone or whatever device that you want to use, and say, hey, I see, I need more milk. Can you go order more milk and get it delivered? You don't have to tell it where, what, and how. It just does it for you, right? So if you think about it, at that point, the notion is that non-human identities. That point, you just created your own agent to go and talk to whatever other agent that's out there, that's gonna say, hey, based on Ravi's behavior, Ravi always shops at, whatever grocery chain that I shop at, and I'm gonna go get milk from that particular store, and go to whatever account that Ravi has for fast delivery account or whatever, and get it delivered to his house. But for that agent to be trustworthy, and for the retailer's agent to trust this agent, you have to know who's the principal behind it, which is Ravi. And that's what we are actually building or adding to our platform. So as you know, there is an MCP server and others. So we built a technology around that is gonna be a game changer in agentic AI, because there will be a trust layer for agentic AI as well. It's no longer a token that at some point retailers or a merchant can say, oh, I delivered to that token, and customers can, or consumers can say, that was never my token. So long story short, it's kind of getting, sorry for being more like technical and complicated, but that's what we are more excited about.
Yeah, we love that detail, so don't worry, no apologies necessary. Um, in terms of like stakeholders and customers, do you think that they kind of treat authentication and compliance as a tick box exercise? And if they do, like, how do you help them understand that this isn't a tick box exercise and it's kind of a long-term business strategy?
Fortunately, what I've seen in the industry, right, is that they don't treat it like a checkbox. That's like an old school way or old notion of thinking, because that's when things were simpler, right?
Hmm.
Fraud was a background thing. You had like a tiny little 15, 20 people team that's sitting in the background. You're like, go figure out, fraud trends. Now that's a front page news, right? So when they look at compliance, they are looking at, is it going to stop my business, right? Is it going to cause more hurdles in my business? And how can I, like I've been saying, how can I add more trust in all my transactions? So when the consumers see, they don't see more friction. They don't feel like, man, I'm just here to buy, a shampoo. Why am I getting treated like as if I'm applying for $100,000 loan, right? So they are trying to balance that out. And I've seen 100%, right? Is that the trend is moving towards, how can I use compliance to verify more good consumers to come in, and hence more business. So we've seen the shift, and we are seeing the wave turn around, where compliance is actually a revenue promoter than a checkbox or a cost center.
What was the hardest like no that you had to say when you were building your company KYXStart?
We don't chase trends. We are chasing broken fundamentals, right? If something feels overly complicated, it's usually outdated, right? We just focus on simple ideas and execute deeply where we know we will win. So a lot of places where we had to say no, was, when we started a couple of years back, I had actually named the company kickstart.ai, and I was like, we need to build this, just focus on AI. And what we realized was that that's still coming in, right? So let's focus on building the fundamentals right, which was, I used to say we were data hungry. We just said data, 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 right? We were not even selling our product for first 8 months. We were like, all we need to do is, if somebody comes in and says that, do you have access in this particular country? We are like, yes. The answer should be yes, we do. And here is the best possible coverage and efficacy that we're gonna get, right? And then the other one was, well, how are you gonna verify payments? So at that point we went in, okay, how many financial institutions that we can go build relationship with? What are the different use cases that we need to focus on? So we build our platform, just focused on building our platform for 9 months, and didn't think about, oh, we need to build for agentic AI. We're like, no, we need to focus on data. And then when we saw that, okay, now we are ready, we have data on our side, and we can add technologies on top of it so that we can serve different markets. We started building that. So a lot of no was not looking at, fancy objects or a shiny object, but focusing on the fundamentals, and building a platform to kind of go to your earlier question. How did you build scalable platform, right? Anybody that's a founder, they will go and say, oh, you need to build an MVP. I say no to that. I say, have conviction in your idea and build a platform that, if time comes and you're going to see millions of transactions, it will be ready to work. Don't think other way, right? Oh, I'm going to build this just a small little thing, and then I'm going to see if it takes off, then I'm going to build on top of that. That aspect, I say, keep it to use cases, because your platform is going to be your baseline. You build MVPs on use cases, not on your platform.
Mhm. So, get regulation. Obviously, you can't escape it. In your opinion, do you think the level of regulation at the moment is stifling or strengthening innovation in identity verification systems?
And the regulation is an interesting thing. It's so vastly different in every different countries, right? Or every different country. In some cases, the country that I come from, I immigrated here in 1999, right? So I came from India. When I was there, I used to be like, how do I tell them who I am? So I used to take my passport and their documents. Today, all I have to do is take my Aadhaar card, right? So even though it's a stricter regulation, like you have to show that everywhere, in my opinion, as you build trust, it's important to build it that way, so that it meets that economy of that particular country, right? So like on the other end, you look at, Ukraine and Estonia, it's a mobile app, and you're like, wow, that's pretty awesome, right? Because it works for them. So what I feel like, regulations are very, very necessary, because it tells us, how you're going to protect your data, how are you going to protect your citizens, and how are you going to protect your citizens' data as well, and how the economy is going to work, because that also kind of puts a foundation of what is the bare minimum you need for your trust layer. So right now, as we speak, with the new administration, the regulations have been going down, as we all know here in US. And what we are going to see is that regulations are supposed to help you, right? In some cases, there are certain use cases they stifle you, especially in a marketing use case. But in the layer that we are in, or in the business that we are in, is adding trust. We see regulations as a positive thing, and it kinds of also gives us, you can say, rules, or gives us, some algorithm to go after how to solve for a particular pain point.
Is there a particular feature of your company, KYXStart, that you're super proud of? Or is there a feature that perhaps companies or stakeholders haven't quite fully appreciated yet?
I will tell you this, with the vision that we are in, right? So we were very excited where we are headed. So I'll give you this answer in that way. In 5 years, identity is won't be something that users do. Even like what I had mentioned earlier at a different, event, was that businesses are not looking for identity verifications, right? They are looking for intent to buy, and that's what is it's gonna be very, very important. That's what we are building, and that's like that's like the hidden agenda, where we are, like I said, we're not chasing trends. We are actually seeing where the puck is going to move, and how we're going to meet there. But what I feel like, it's, identity is going to be instant, it is going to be invisible, and it has to be global, because every institution is a global institution, according to me. You would pick a bank and you would say, oh, no, 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 I only operate in business. Well, guess what? Your consumers are sending money abroad. So you operate in wherever they are trying to send that money in, right? So what I'm very, very proud of, and with my team, and it's really, we are really building the future of trust. We really want to add trust in every transaction, and be able to not only protect consumers, one very wild example that I will do is that what's happening because of all the breaches and because of all like your my data being out there, scamsters are getting very, very smart, right? With AI, deep voice, and so on and so forth, right? So today they will make you a call saying, blah blah blah, if you don't do this, give you a sad story like somebody's dying or what have you, right? And then they make you a call and they say you got to move this money into this other bank account, right? And it actually happened to somebody that's near and dear to me, and they were like, Ravi, how do I protect myself? I'm like, yeah, you got to force your financial institutions to verify where the money is going in. They're only verifying, is this Ravi's account? I'm just going to put the money. But that's where the KYP notion comes in, is that you need to know who your know your payer. Like, you need to know where the money is going, not where the money is starting from. So, I feel very proud that we are actually solving a real world problem, and we are ready to help institutions move into future as well.
You mentioned towards the start of this program about the kind of like chase that's happening between fraudsters and those who are trying to offer protection. Do you think we're at the stage where the fraudsters are ahead or the defenders are ahead, or is it a situation where they're kind of like at the same level and you're fighting to try and get one step ahead of the other one?
That's a very interesting question. I frankly don't have a solid answer for you. But I feel like we are both getting closer. Sometimes, the good people are up and the fraudsters are down, and because I do believe it starts with the good, right? Like, AI came to good people first because good people really built it, right? And then the fraudsters adapted to that, and then they started getting access and they became more and more sophisticated. Now, we are kind of getting close to there. The part where it gets tricky per se is that institutions that are saying kind of no to where the world is headed, right? And they're stuck in their old ways, and they're like, hey, no, 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 I used to do this 5 years back, I'm gonna keep doing that. And there will be some hard realities that they're gonna face, and usually actions are in bigger institutions are because of something good or bad that happens, and that's when they realize, no, 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 we need to really rethink through this, because until then, the problems were hidden and they're not more mainstream. So, but in a very shorter way, I think right now we are both at par, because I think we have access to more technologies than them. They know how to use the technologies better than anyone else. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy when you put it like that. I mean, I'm relatively old. I'm 46, so I'm from the old days before the internet and technology. And you're right, passports, identification, national insurance number, those were the methods of verification. Now, I'm not sure if we're quite there yet, but you mentioned deepfake technologies. We pioneered maybe like 10 years ago the verifying your voice, making sure it's your voice. Maybe now fraudsters can automatically copy your voice and make it simulate videos they can simulate. So it's a constant evolution, isn't it? It's a constant evolution of trying to be that one step ahead. Maybe you can't really answer this question, but in the age of quantum computing, like, we may be far off that. Do you think that will have another impact going forward, or are we too far away from that to even worry about that at the moment?
Well, I am not qualified to answer that, because I'm like as my kids call me, a YouTube knowledger as far as quantum computing is concerned. So but as I've seen and heard, it's coming, like, and I heard that at a various CES show that's going on in Vegas right now. I hear that it's there, the chips are there. At some point it's going to be very real. But I feel like on the path that we are in, it's going to be very interesting, where, you as a consumer, Barry, and me as a consumer, we're going to be very knowledgeable about who's targeting us. And then actually, as we speak, right, you go and talk to anybody that you say, hey, why are you getting these ads? Well, they're listening to me, and you kind of put that in a background, because now you understand how the data is moving, how the data is flowing. So you're getting more and more educated about it, because there's a lot more information out there, right? It's no longer like, oh, it's a background process. Compliance, people used to think compliance is something that we want to optimize. Now, as I was saying earlier, institutions are optimizing trust. So they're and one of the main important thing is that is actually education, right? Is telling people how and what's happening. So like if you look at the crystal ball, I think we are headed out to a wonderful right. I'm of a similar age as you. In fact, I'm a little older than you, Barry. I've seen the days of modem where it used to make a cranky noise for you to get connected, and then the floppy disk where we come from. Now I just talk to my phone and things happen. So hopefully by the time we call it a day, we are going to see a lot more evolution of humankind than anything else.
Oh, it's nice to reminisce about the good old days, right, Ravi? Times were simpler back then. I do have
That
one more question that I'd like to ask you just before. I know we're a little bit short for time. Like, how do you measure success? Like, what is success in your eyes, Ravi?
in my opinion, success is not about how big your company is, or your revenue numbers and so on and so forth. uh my usually barometer for success is that our is your team excited every day when they come to work? They're like, hey, I'm doing something pretty amazing, which in turn makes your customers excited about all the products and services that you're building. And at the end of the day, really, are you solving the problem that are actually needed to be solved, right? Which is, you're gonna go from, hey, how do I help this institution increase their business and keep their fraud lower? And frankly, and very biased answer would be here is that we are kind of the sticking glue, right? We are their view to an external world per se. Like, this is Ravi, this is Barry, right? So for us, it's paramount. It's really paramount that we stay ahead of fraudsters, and really build our platform or update our platform at a speed that's faster than anything else, right? And then the next important thing is that it's really build a team that is very cohesive, that is ideas first, and really build a team that is extremely excited about working and building platforms at Kickstart. So I really go from making sure if my team is happy, I think we've done a great job and build a great company out there.
And my final question, Ravi, just before I do let you go, as a founder, what advice would you give to other people, maybe young people looking to start up, just getting in their foot in the door, trying to create new companies? What is the best piece of advice that you would give them?
The best piece of advice that I have kind of come to a conclusion, and it's with a lot of scar marks, like I know I've made these mistakes a lot of times, right? The most important thing that somebody told me is that you will not have all the answers, and your job is not to have all the answers, right? As a founder, the job is to create clarity towards the mission, right? So the team can move fast without confusion. I truly believe in this. Speed comes from alignment, not from pressure. So, if there is one thing that I would say, and there's a lot of things, have grit, have passion, all that. Without that, you're never gonna embark on an entrepreneurial journey. But one really eye-opening thing was that I am not gonna have all the answers, and I should not expect or myself to have all the answers.
What a great way to end the podcast with that pearl of information. Ravi, I just want to thank you so much again for talking with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Absolutely, and thanks for really inviting me to this podcast. It was lovely chatting with you. Just to end that, really, what I would say is that to anybody that's listening here is that don't be afraid to take chances. Go out there. If you're thinking about something and you think the problem is out there to be solved, that means it is out there to be solved. Don't wait for affirmation. Just embark on the journey.
What a lovely positive way to end this podcast. That was Ravi Bijlani, founder and CEO at KYXStart.